Hello, thank you for watching. This is Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. We have a delightful guest this time. His name is Russ Thomas, and he's a District 4 representative on CCWD, Calaveras County Water District. And this is a very good show because we're right in the middle of turmoil in a recall election in which all the directors are being, not being recalled, but there's a petition out to try to recall them. And this is going to be probably the first opportunity where people could find out what's really going on in the district. So if you have a pen and paper, you want to get it, make sure you can take notes. Russ, welcome. Thank you for being our guest.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, Al. We've been friends a long time, so...
you were a former supervisor.
That's correct.
And we're a good supervisor, too. And I went to the IGA supermarket, and there was a table out there where people were supposed to sign petitions for recall of you. And I asked a nice gentleman there, well, what's the reason for doing the recall? And I asked him, do you have anything in writing about this? And he didn't have anything in writing, but he said basically he thought the board was not acting in the best interest of the ratepayers because they approved the rate increase without hardly any discussion. And so therefore we need to have new directors. Well, I didn't argue with him, but I wanted to try to get something in writing of what they really were about, because this is almost a continuation of a previous controversy involving some of the same people who objected to the water district at its sewer facility in Copperopolis, creating vegetable compost from the sewage with the help of a private firm that would be under contract, but no formal offer was made to do that. But boy, was there an uproar. But I don't think the uproar was coming from the district users as much as people that were against CCWD. Well, anyway. Without what is your view about this, Russ? What's your opinion?
About specifically the composting proposal?
Yeah. Well, we'll cover that under item 4, but the first part would be
about the recall.
Yeah, about the recall.
Okay, well, Calaveras County has a kind of a checkered history with the recalls, and some of them have turned out pretty badly, actually. And so I hope that this, if it is successful, my hope would be that the proponents would vet their proposed substitutions. I mean, they're coming in and they're saying, we don't like what you've done, we want to get rid of all 5 seats. That would, in my opinion, cause chaos. That's not based on any kind of logical thought process, in my view. I think that in order to do the job that we do as directors on CCWD, you have to have a certain not everybody has the same background, but to have a broad enough background that you can weigh these proposals that come to you through the lens of past experience, hopefully some business experience. And this most recent recall thing is not being put up by people that are concerned about that. They don't want to know the facts. In fact, that there was a recent town hall meeting in Copperopolis just last week that I asked that Michael Minkler contact the gentleman who is in charge of this whole county-wide operation to come to that meeting so that he might be able to get educated on some of the specific projects that we have planned to execute in Copperopolis. And his response specifically was that, I'm not coming, I have bigger fish to fry. So there's no leaning toward, okay, well, maybe I didn't hear that right, can you tell me again? Not even that. And in contrast to that, there's a group of people from Valley Springs that early on in this process of coming to the rate increases that we came to, they were really quite concerned about the decision-making progress or process. And so instead of saying we have bigger fish to fry and we've made up our minds, they were saying, okay, well, when the board said, can we interest you in taking some tours to see that maybe you would understand the complexity of CCWD better? And so they took us up on that. They've gone to a couple of them, and it's really been refreshing to me because I see them coming to the board meeting now, and they're saying, oh my goodness, we didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
And saying it kind of with a smile on their face, that they're not completely satisfied, and nor should they be, that they haven't had the as immediate a response to their concerns about communication and just the transparency that they're looking for from CCWD. But it's interesting that you have one group that doesn't want to hear anything, they just want to get rid of all of us, and you have another group that's willing to listen, and they're saying, this is far more complex than we ever imagined. And I want to make a suggestion that anybody that's looking, that you go on the CCWD website and look under the box that checks about us. There was a recent state of the county meeting, and you were there at the former Saddle Creek Golf Course, where the Chamber of Commerce organizes this event as an annual event, and one of the standout presenters was our general manager, Michael Minkler, and he, in just a very short period of time, he outlined the history starting from the beginning, 76, 77 years ago now, when Calaveras County Water District was formed. And he does a masterful job of explaining the interconnectivity between the county and the county water district, the complexities that we deal with in making sure that we don't lose the water entitlements that we have, dealing with the state bureaucracy. Anyway, if you'll go to that About Us tab, look for that meeting and watch it. I've watched it 3 times since I first saw it, and he does an amazing job, and I would encourage you and anybody else that is interested in knowing more about CCWD to go there.
Now, do you have your pencil? What is that website?
Website is Calaveras, CCWD.org, not to be confused with Contra Costa Water District. But,
CCWD.org. And then when you get to the website, you're going to check on
About Us.
About Us.
And look for the comments for the State of the County meeting. I think it was in October the 21st, I'm pretty sure.
Would it be a video?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. And there's other valuable information on that website, and we're constantly updating it. Fortunately, we have a brand new external affairs manager, Kelly Gerkensmeyer, who is really quite a remarkable young man. He's in his early 40s, but he has 20 years of experience with the district as a water treatment operator. And he's brilliant in communicative skills. He's dedicated to this county and seeing the district thrive, and wants to, he has taken on this job, and he's just excelling. And I'm kind of proud to tell you that last Wednesday, I moved from the vice presidency of the CCWD board, so I am now the president of the board. So,
Oh, congratulations.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, and one of the responsibilities that I take very seriously is I will be taking on the chairmanship of the External Relations Committee. Well, it's a standing committee set up by our recently passed President Scott Ratterman that will, I don't want to say hopefully, I can guarantee that this committee is going to improve the communication that we have with all of our ratepayers, the county, the community at large, and everything that's under the umbrella of external affairs. We will be lifting the lid off and stirring it up and seeing if we can make some improvements.
Who will be on the committee? Would it be for directors or?
Two directors only,
Okay.
but the recommendations from this committee will go to the board for approval or to move it on beyond that. And you will be pleased with the person that I'm going to put on with me on that committee. I don't want to make any early releases on that information.
Okay.
Because typically the president doesn't make these assignments to the standing committees until the first meeting in January.
Right.
And I'm going to do that as well.
Oh, very interesting. Oh, incidentally, Mark Minkler was,
Michael Minkler.
Michael Minkler was a host right here on Public Access TV, and he doing the same job I'm doing, covering local events, and he did a great job. And so I'm really proud of him.
He is aside from being a lawyer, we can't hold that against him, but I don't think his license is active right now, but anyway, the fact that he does have a very good background in law, like his predecessor, Dave Egerton. It's a good skill set for the general manager of CCWD to have. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, looked like probably one of the things that was perhaps a surprise to some ratepayers was that you have 5-year plans for your budget. And in the previous one, you were hit with a big slug of inflation that was caused by the federal government deliberately. And as a result of that, you needed to you needed more money to be able to cover the losses from the caused by the spending created by inflation, and also to make sure that the maintenance was done on schedule, because if the maintenance of the pipelines was neglected to save money, a failure could cost a lot more, plus put many ratepayers out without water.
Well, Al, it sounds to me like you know enough about the operation of the district that you could be a very good replacement for me, if that comes to pass.
I'm too old.
It's sort of it's very unfortunate that we have collectively, everybody in the nation, and maybe even more particularly in California, have gone through or in the midst of the worst inflationary spiral in 40 years. Now, we're kind of both old enough that we were in the middle of the last inflationary spiral, and we remember how painful that was. But I've got more recent and painful experience on inflation, because you know that I've been building a house, and I'm going to tell you about the cost of materials for building the house as it also relates to the materials for running the district. I mean, when plywood goes from $12, $13 a sheet to $75 a sheet,
Oh, wow.
and I've got hundreds of sheets to buy,
Right.
and the water district has thousands of gallons of chemicals that they have to buy that have gone up in similar fashion. Our electricity went up $1 million a year. Fortunately, one of the things that was surprising to me is that although fuel prices have gone up, we've been buying more efficient vehicles that run on, get better fuel consumption, and our fuel, what we paid for fuel during the last year did not exceed what we paid in the prior year. But needless to say, our expenses suddenly just exploded, and we were locked into a 5-year rate plan.
Yeah.
We couldn't raise rates again until very recently. And what is maybe one of the most frustrating things for me and for the other members of the board is that we've been at this rate study for over a year. We've had meeting after meeting, we've had town hall meetings, we've had opportunities to explain all this to the ratepayers, and when we get accused of, well, you did it too quickly, you didn't keep us informed, I don't know what we could have done differently. But the thing that is probably the most misunderstood is that you have this responsibility to the state constitution, that we're supposed to uphold the state constitution. And an integral part of the state constitution is the way in which special districts the only way that they can raise districts is through this Prop 218 process.
Right.
And Prop 218, interestingly, was written by John Capal, who we've seen him at the Taxpayers Association a number of times. And it was done specifically to keep water districts from raising rates arbitrarily and without justification. So there is language in that Prop 218 that you cannot raise rates to a point that is higher than it costs you to operate.
Right.
You could conceivably have rates much lower than it costs you to operate, but that puts you in all kinds of peril. And we can't, I suppose that there might be.
The first easiest thing to cut back is maintenance, but maintenance prevents catastrophic failures of the system.
Well, we could get rid of, I mean, what people, among the folks that were raising their voices the loudest is that you're paying your people way, way, way too much money. But we're not. If you look at the salary schedules that we look at from 3 counties north, 3 counties south, we're paying our people the proper amount to recruit and maintain or retain, we think, but we're still losing people to adjacent districts that are paying more. So when I hear people say, well, you should cut costs by getting rid of these high-cost employees, they're really demonstrating that they don't know what they're talking about, because they're collective bargaining agreements that you cannot terminate unilaterally.
Right.
They've got to be. It's a collective bargaining agreement. It's by mutual arbitration or resolution. You have to come to a mutual agreement on the wages and salary provisions of your contract, and we've got 2 years to go on our contracts.
Right.
So the one thing that I want to make crystal clear is that we followed the law specifically. There are some people that misunderstood the timing on the notices that went out. They're looking at one mailing that we made that didn't really it wasn't specifically tied to the rate study. It was some other announcement that we made, but the people looking at that said, okay, well, you got to throw all this out and start over again because you didn't mail that early enough. That is preposterous.
Yeah, that won't work.
We followed the rules, and we've done everything that we can do to keep the doors open. And I don't know, I think that that's our fundamental responsibility. All of us on the board have that responsibility to have CCWD be a healthy and dependable and trusted. And the people that are saying that we can't be trusted, I think that they would change their mind possibly if they would know more about what we do.
Yeah. There is a criticism that seems to have some validity, that the ballots were mailed to the property owners based on the assessors parcel number. But when you have apartments and the tenants have their own accounts for their own utilities, then they wouldn't get a ballot. And so one correction that could be done in the future would be to make sure that it's the customers that get these ballots, not the property owner. Well, even though the property owner can get one too, but it should be if the issue is a ratepayer issue, it should go to the ratepayers.
I'm not sure that I can properly respond to that suggestion, but I'm confident that we did what was required by the law, and if we didn't, I can.
Well, it could be.
I can fix it.
Yeah.
So I have a gavel this
Yeah.
year, so we can make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. The not very many people know about that, by the way.
Okay. But Al, I don't know. One thing that I want to try to communicate is that you mentioned earlier that I have been on the Board of Supervisors. That's not the first time that I've been in public service, and I do feel like that is the proper way to classify what I've always done in my whole life. Is I've been a public servant, and I have always been motivated to perform this public service with the end goal of making my environment better than it would have been if I wasn't involved.
Right.
And you know that I have been involved in issues in and around Copperopolis for 30 years.
Now, what were you doing before you were a supervisor?
I was a masonry contractor.
All right.
And I, at one time, was the president of the statewide Masonry Contractors Association, so that was a kind of a political type of an activity. But that, again, was in order to try to make the organization that I was a part of. I was a masonry contractor, but I wanted to make that environment better for all masonry contractors and their customers. And I spent a lot of time doing that. I was on the Planning Commission of Stanislaus County. I was born and raised in Stanislaus County, and so I had an opportunity to throw my hat in to be considered for the District 5 representative in Calaveras County, not Calaveras, but Stanislaus County, to be on the Planning Commission, and that was a very, very wonderful experience. I served there for 7 years immediately before coming up here to Calaveras County. And upon arriving here, I met Terry Bailey and told her a little bit about my background, and she sort of said, why don't you come and join the Copperopolis Community Plan Advisory Committee? Mm-hmm. And so I thought that's a pretty good thing. If you have an opportunity to plan the development, long-range development of growing community, I got my juices going. And so they selected me as being the chairman of that, but it turns out that I got the chairmanship because I wasn't in any subdivision, and the subdivisions weren't getting along with each other. So
yeah, I remember that.
I lived out in the country, so
yeah.
Anyway, I led that effort for, gosh, it was 10 years. It was just really a very good experience.
Okay, we have 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yes.
But we've only been at this 5 minutes.
It seems like, boy, the time goes by fast. We covered a lot of information. Now, our viewers, you can see how valuable this is, all this information, especially if you're a CCWD customer. Now, one of the things that we wanted to discuss was sewer issues. Mm-hmm. And I understand that the district is going to use some of the solid waste to go to create electricity. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I'm glad to have a chance to do that. You mentioned earlier that there was a hue and cry about people that didn't want any kind of composting to take place in Copperopolis, and it was unfortunate that it was misunderstood, that there was no proposal, that it just took on a life of its own, and interestingly, it's still coming back. You know, they keep saying, they're lying to us again, and that is not the truth at all. What actually is happening is we have a wonderful opportunity right now to get into a partnership with a power producing company called Phoenix Energy, and they're building a facility up in West Point that was the brainchild of Steve Walensky when he was on the Board of Supervisors, to take advantage, or not take advantage, but put a facility up in the area where it had the greatest potential for fire, clean up the forest, bring it to a place where they could burn it and produce energy. And so it's on an adjacent piece of property, or actually we own the property that this facility is being built on. So my goodness, we can take, instead of hauling this effluent it's what gets taken out of the settling ponds.
Right.
So we used to put it in the county dump, but they stopped that. But now we have to haul it over to Suisun at great expense. But instead of that, we're going to be able to take it to this energy producing place and turn it into electricity. And that will be small but not insignificant contribution to the rate revenues that we need to cover our bills.
What percentage of this material would go for the energy production?
Actually, it's less than 5% of the consumables there. They're going to have 95% forest products and about 5% of our contribution. But that 5% will save us about probably close to $200,000 in trucking annually.
Oh, wow. That'd be good for the ratepayers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if 100% of this material that we produce would not be going to
it will no longer go to Suisun. It'll be consumed.
Oh, okay.
It'll be
All
consumed in that facility up there. But they're bringing truckload after truckload of forest products in there, and the fact that it's a kind of a win-win situation, because what we'll be able to do is to supply this. The power production plant will need water, so we're going to supply them with reclaimed water from the sewage plant that's right next door.
Right.
And we will get power from them at a brother-in-law rate, I guess you might call it. It would be far less than out on PG&E's rate schedule. So.
Oh, one thing about the rate increases, it looks like on this next 5-year plan, the beginning rate increase will be, 20%?
No, it's 22%.
22%.
Yeah.
And then overall, 5-year rate is 75%, not 100%. A lot of people have been saying 100%.
You know, that's the way that everybody's attention was peaked when they said, oh, it's going to be a 100% increase, like it's going to be immediately. But the 22%, frankly, was the minimum that we could go to cover the bills that we had. That was what the accounting department was telling us. And it goes 22%, 13%, no, 12, and then 13, and then 7 and 7. One of the odd things about this is we have been successful in the past of getting a lot of money in grants.
Yeah.
But when you do this rate study every 5 years, you cannot take into consideration that you've had success back then. You can't assume that you're going to have the same type of success. You have to assume that you're not going to get any. So that's why the last 2 years are 7 and 7, and it is my hope that we wouldn't even have to use those 7 and 7. We can roll them back, but we can't raise them.
Okay, well, sometimes government grants have a way of robbing Peter to pay Paul. where you, you take money from the taxpayers out of this pocket and you give it to this other pocket. But I like the idea of what you're doing, and that's balancing the budget and paying as you go and planning for the costs that you need to plan for. And I really thank you for being our guest,
Okay.
and thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert.